TikTok that wasn't there one like it is the 4th of July and then it had the dogs with the fireworks or something.
I think we're on different sides of TikTok.
Mine's all the animals, the doggies.
I love that. I recently had like turtles, and I was like turtles eating strawberries for a while.
Those are so cute. The little snapping one, their little lips like
yeah,
like this. Y'all gotta watch the video so you can see my lips so you know about it. Those are really cute.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the breakfast version of Couch Combos.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. you guys.
8:02 a.m.
Yeah.
And neither of us are
morning peeps.
I'm definitely a morning person. I get up at an hour. I won't even say it's that early, but I don't have to like think.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fun. I like that this is like kind of more unfiltered.
Yeah. Definitely more unfiltered because my brain hasn't like completely turned on yet.
Yep.
I feel I can still like hear the sleep in my voice.
I can like feel the crusties still kind of in my eyes.
Going in for one of these. Monica actually this morning, she's like, "Why are you up this early?" She's like, "I never see you before I leave." I was like, "Yeah, we're doing our podcast this morning." Yeah. And it's all because of me, because shout out to Nicole. I got to go get a crown on my tooth, so she's gonna help me with that. She's a great dentist. If anyone needs a dentist in the Marietta area,
I kind of do.
So. With Cobb Dental Designs, I think is what it is, maybe. But beautiful office, and she's awesome. But anywho, yeah. So welcome, and today we're talking about healing.
We are, and I hope whoever's watching the video can absolutely understand neurodivergence sometimes. Okay. I'm better now.
You feel good about that color?
Yeah, it was late.
Sarah is currently pushing the little button to change her colors.
Okay, there we go.
There we go, to make it rainbow.
It's early and we're making it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for this episode, so I know that we mentioned it before, but wow, my voice is still waking up too. The summer, clinically and personally, it's just odd what happens in the therapy world. Yeah. And I'm also on the side of TikTok where every therapist is talking about it right now, which is like very obviously validating, but it's also like, man, that is just nuts.
Yeah.
Usually, especially July, people just don't go to therapy. You know, people are traveling. There were some TikToks where it's like, man, someone takes one ride on a boat and all of a sudden things are fine.
Yeah.
I know I joked that there must have been a magical 4th of July hot dog that cured trauma.
Yes.
And I think it's just interesting. And so we really wanted today's episode to be just about the therapeutic process and journey and how it can just look different. And everyone's process is very unique to them. So,
yeah. So, start out. Big hit question.
Yeah.
A moment when you thought you'd moved on, only to be blindsided by a memory, feeling, or pattern.
Anything grief related, I will say.
Yeah.
Especially because and we can go into this later, but I thought grief looked like, oh, I'm fine. This doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
It does. I just get really good at coexisting with it. So I think the first time I felt like my grief was quote unquote better, and then I heard something or I saw or smelled something and I was transported back, I definitely thought that I failed.
Yep.
Or when I was conquering like people pleasing tendencies and I pissed somebody off. But you know, we'll get to that later and how it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah, you stole mine with that last one. I was gonna say like anytime, because I think, you know, obviously I went to therapy to work on people pleasing, perfectionism, all these things. Yeah. We did some great shame versus guilt work. But anytime I get into a dynamic where someone's upset, whether that's with me or with something or someone else, I instantly, like, it's not instantly anymore, but I struggle very hard to not go straight into those habits of like people pleasing and forgetting that I have emotions. Being like, oh, wait a minute, I feel a certain way. That's important too. So that would be mine, where I'm like, oh, I need to do more work on that. But as we will learn in this podcast, it is not always an upward slope.
No. So that's why we really wanted to go into like the healing isn't linear, which it honestly feels kind of silly saying it and writing that out because it is so cliche and overused. Yeah. But at the same time, it is true. Like there's a reason why it is cliche at this point. Like there's some meaning behind that one.
Yeah. And it's important to state it. So we're going to state it and we're going to do it.
But I will say I've noticed, I feel like especially on reality TV, maybe it's because I was just watching Bachelor in Paradise Paradise when I went to sleep last night.
I thought you were going to say Love Island.
I can't get into it yet. I need to. Once I get into it, I know I'm going to hyperfixate.
Oh, definitely.
But there's so many episodes. It's overwhelming.
There is, yeah.
And I like to be in bed early, and it comes out late. But I feel like, especially on reality TV, a lot of people just say like, "Oh, sorry, I'm just healing," and they use it as a scapegoat to be a not so nice human. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about like healing being nonlinear, it is not to justify or excuse negative behavior, and by negative I mean like harmful or hurtful behavior.
Right.
Instead, this is about how we can recognize that healing might look different than we expect.
Yeah.
Not to justify being a mean person.
Yeah. Not to be like, oh, I'm growing, and then curses you out.
We don't do bullies here. No.
No, we do not.
No.
And also that, like Sarah just mentioned, healing isn't linear.
Yeah.
It means that even if you don't feel like you're going forward, you're not actually going backward. This idea of like quote unquote backsliding is not actually a thing.
Right.
So we're gonna go into that a little bit later too.
So what do you feel like when we're thinking about our clients? Mm-hmm. What do you feel like clients view healing as? Like when they imagine that, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I definitely think, and it's funny because verbally they'll say, I know that it's not gonna be instantaneous. Mm-hmm. I know that it's not going to be all the time, all these things. But then we come in and they're like, well, I did that and I don't see anything, or I don't feel better, or I don't do. So I always think that though logically, and I do this myself, honestly, with my perfectionism tendencies, but honestly, like we can rationalize cognitively that this isn't going to be quick and that it's not going to be constant. Mm-hmm. But we expect it to be quick and we expect it to be constant. That every day it's like one step closer and I feel like I'm growing and all of these things. Mm-hmm. And I would say that, quite frankly, that's because of one, capitalism. But two, social media.
Oh, for sure.
And like those two things combining, because there's constantly people on there being like, in 30 days you can do this,
change your life.
Yes. And so I think they see that, and not only are they like, oh, I need to fix that about myself, but also I need to do it in 30 days.
Yeah.
What about you?
I honestly think that some clients come into therapy and they think healing has to look like quote unquote pretty. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think that's a lot of it's from social media. And I think the like mainstream usage of like the glow up contributes to it. Yeah. And of course, like people talk about the glow up of like this transformation where people are better in some regard. I feel like it started in the fitness industry to talk about a physical transformation with bodies. Yeah. But it's in the mental health space, and it has been. And I do feel like people view healing as this, like, this is going to feel great, and I'm always going to be excited and happy. And the thing is, healing, there are elements of that. Absolutely. Like, you're becoming a more authentic version of yourself, a better version of yourself, whatever that means. But it's not going to look pretty or like aesthetic. And like you said, it's not going to be instant. Yeah. And when I talk to clients, I always say that, hey, therapy is sometimes like a workout routine, but it's like starting a new one where you're not sure if you're doing it right. You feel kind of off, like it's new, it's a different way of moving, and you expect to see results after the first workout, and you're wondering, well, where's my abs? I've done 10 crunches. I always say therapy's a lot like that, where when you first start the healing process, it might just feel uncomfortable for a little bit, which sometimes our bodies will say is wrong. But again, it's not that like pretty instant gratification process.
Right.
The Instagram glow up.
Yeah.
Which is usually a filter.
Yeah, true. And then they take off the filter. I learned that that's the thing, is you can use the filter, save it, and then upload it, and it won't show that you used a filter. So they're getting even trickier with things. Also, trust. Can you hand me a tissue? I am snotty over here. We're having a human moment.
I just got new tissues this week. Oh, yeah, we got more. There's lotion in them.
Oh, beautiful. And on that same vein, guys, this is not our fault. It's not our fault that we feel like this is what healing looks like, because when we talk about capitalism and when we talk about just our society and the making of, the world that we live in, productivity, timelines, structure of like first this, then that is very much like important in jobs, in life, and all the things, because that's how we structure things. Humans, I believe, love to label and categorize everything. Oh yeah. So the cleaner that it looks, the more that we're able to like process it.
Yes.
When in reality, life is not clean.
No.
So this is not our fault that we feel this way, you guys.
And so, like, it's not a client's fault. It's not a therapist's fault. Like, if you're going into therapy thinking, like, I can't wait to have my summer glow up, tell your therapist. Because, first of all, they can make that happen. Because I know, like, if I had a client that said that, I would say, like, okay, that's going to look like by the end of the summer, we are going to have A+ coping skills. Does that mean that we will be able to get to the root of a trauma, of identity, of attachment wounds? Like, potentially no.
Right.
But you will feel like you've had a massive transformation in how you can manage your own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just that, again, we talk about the therapeutic alliance in that match. Talk to your therapist about what healing looks like in your head. Because, again, like, we try, but we can't read minds. We're pretty good at almost reading minds.
Yeah. Reading body language to determine minds.
Exactly. So I'd say just saying it out loud can also be really helpful, because then you can also digest it and process that thought too of, hold on, I'm here and I'm feeling like depression will be cured in 2 sessions. It's like, oh,
Let's
think
chat
about
through
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Because completion, this is another thing that comes up in the room a lot of, like, when is this going to be done?
Yeah.
They'll say, like, how many sessions do you think this is going to take? And I usually say, well, it varies. And they're like, yeah, but, like, on average. I said, I literally can't give you an average because everyone's different. Also, we show up with different things. And the idea that therapy is quote unquote complete, or trauma is complete, grief's complete, is not a thing. Because it's going to be constantly showing up. So, like, the goal of therapy is not to put a period on things and be like, okay, guess what? You're healed. Now you never have to think about feelings ever again. Like, that's not going to happen. We're human. Feelings are going to come up all the time. But instead, to make it more manageable when they do come up, of being able to sit with that, understand it, process through it. And it feels like more okay.
Well, and I feel like when, obviously, if someone is willing and able to come to therapy, they're usually motivated in some way. But a lot of these folks are perfectionistic in ways, people pleasing in ways. And so sometimes shattering, I don't know how you feel, but shattering the illusion of healing can be really difficult. And you don't want clients to get discouraged. If anything, you want them to feel motivated and empowered, knowing that they don't have to be perfect in healing. But that's just another barrier for a lot of folks, of knowing that, like, wait, my therapy process won't look like how it does in TV and movies. It's not like taking a medication and all of a sudden my symptoms are gone. Like, it's not like that. But at the same time, there can be a lot of good that can come from being able to normalize that healing just doesn't look like this straight line that's like an exponential curve. It's a little bit different.
And also that, I know we're saying it's never complete, all of these things, but that doesn't mean you're in therapy for your entire life.
Not at
like,
all.
that's also not a thing. There's that balance of, no, our whole job, and I actually tell this to kids and all the time, is like, my job's weird. My whole job is so that you don't need me anymore.
Yes.
Of, like, I can say, hey,
bye.
Like, I love you, you're awesome, but, like,
you did great.
Like, you got this on your own now. So this is not saying that therapy is a forever thing.
Right.
Some people will say you need to be in therapy your whole life.
They will.
And, you know, just question that comment. Just question it, because you can definitely pop in and pop out.
That you can.
Yeah.
I think this also just highlights our style as clinicians and in the practice. And I'm realizing that the longer we are in business, the more it's rare. And I feel like, to kind of peel back that curtain, and something that a lot of therapists won't say, is we are a fee-for-service industry, which is kind of taboo to talk about. But again, like, this is our livelihood. This is how we make a living. And a fee-for-service industry is when you have a session, you get paid. So if a client says that they're no longer going to come to therapy, we're not going to get paid anymore. And I think, like you said, that's when a lot of therapists say, like, oh, this is going to be lifelong, things like that. But I feel like we just operate a little bit differently, and that the healing process, the therapeutic process, it's going to be personalized and it's going to look different, and that's okay. So I think, again, find the fit that's best for you. Make sure to ask these questions. And I love that you bring up basically termination during the intake. And with kids, of like, hey, my goal is for you to not have to come here anymore, or to change frequency and things like that. Obviously, when everybody changes frequency at once, it gets stressful.
It's like in July.
It gets stressful for the business. But at the same time, just know that, first of all, clients, that's not on you. That is not your job, and you don't take care of your therapist. But also, like, it's just part of the process. It's normal.
Right.
And there's a reason why it happens every single July.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And then we've already kind of talked about social media and the idea of like the highlight reel of, oh, everyone's doing so much better than I am, and they're all growing and healing and doing things faster and quicker. You guys, Instagram's fake.
It's fake.
It's fake.
Especially as therapy is becoming a lot more talked about on Instagram and on TikTok. Whoa, it's just a lot. And sometimes I'll like see TikToks of people in therapy and I'm like, what? Like, what are they doing? And even sometimes I'll think like, what am I doing wrong? Or things like that. But then I'm like, wait, I would say that's like borderline unethical. And I like having different boundaries and things like that. So yeah, social media, it will always tell you that healing needs to look a certain way. You can choose what that looks like. And your therapist can actually be a great person to work with to decide what healing does look like. Yeah. It's basically like a menu just to see what it means physically, mentally, emotionally. For some clients, their mental health healing looks like something happens financially in their life, depending on how they cope. So just definitely. Personalized.
Right. And then the idea of it being neat, it being clean, it being
pretty,
linear,
aesthetic,
of just constantly at an upward slope. You guys, okay, and I think the easiest model to look at is the grief model, DABDA. Yeah. Which learned that one. And, you know, we label it as like, okay, first you're going to experience denial, then it's going to be anger, then it's going to be bargaining, depression, and then acceptance, and it all goes in that order. And that does not happen.
I'm just shaking my head.
That does not happen. Like, we have to readdress, we have to go back, we have to...
You mean multiple at once?
Yes, yes. Like, it is a circular motion instead of just a timeline of like, boop, 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 levels. I know that we all love structure. Just kidding. Not all of us, but most of us, and the two of us in this room.
Yes.
Love that structure, but that is not how healing is. That's not how growth is. That's not how life is. It's not structured. So the idea that in therapy you might be talking about the same concepts. Right. One session, the next session, you might take a little break, ski, go on to something else, and then 2 sessions later, come back in. That's going to happen. That's okay.
Yeah, it's
that's actually great.
I know I get sometimes like I'm talking about this again. It's like, that's okay. It doesn't have to mean anything. So I looked up some statistics.
Stat time.
Because I just like math. So according to a 2018 study in the Journal of Traumatic Stress, trauma symptoms fluctuate across months and years, even after quote unquote successful treatment. Nearly 40% of participants experience symptom resurgence during periods of high stress despite no new trauma. So essentially, 40% of people, even after they completed quote unquote therapy, they still had traumatic stress that happened when they were stressed, and they still had some resurgence. Again, I think that just shows that you can be healing, you can feel good, you can do the work, and sometimes these things do come back up and poke back up. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean anything like that.
Yeah. Which, follow-up, great question. When was the time when like you thought you would regress but realized, no, I'm just like readdressing something, or I'm just seeing it from a different perspective, or more just like, oh no, this is just coming back up because I'm a human?
Yeah. I think that even sometimes with the business, it can come up, because when we started and I started to do things a certain way and then just kind of reevaluating with new knowledge, it's like, that's not a failure. It's just using what I've learned and improving things. So I think that on a business side of things, but then personally, again, with people pleasing, I think as I've gotten older, I've had more uncomfortable conversations with people, and I like revisit certain topics over time, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a big deal. If anything, it's just normalizing a conversation, and it strengthens things over time. Yeah. What do you think?
Mine would definitely be, personally and professionally, imposter syndrome. I feel like I get it at least once a month.
Yeah.
Of where I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not a good therapist. I should probably quit and
2 to 3 times in July.
Every single day in July.
Multiple times.
Yeah, I need to go work at Lululemon or open up a bakery. So for me, it's definitely that imposter syndrome of checking back in of like, no, you're okay. Yeah. Like, everything is fine. Maybe we felt like we had a bad session, but in reality, like, my opinion of how a session goes is not the same as how a client's opinion of how a session goes. No. And really, just having the conversation is healing. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, well, and like sometimes I'll have a client come in and they'll say something like, wait, something that you told me really resonated. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, what did I say? Yeah. And it's never usually what I thought I said. It was like something else that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And so again, like our perception is just different. And again, it's very subjective all the time.
Isn't that the best though, when they come in and they'll either say that, or I have a client that writes things down. Yeah. Because, you know, like me, sure. She forgets, and I'll say something and she'll be like, oh my gosh, I gotta write that down. And I'm like,
well, sometimes I'll be like, can you repeat that?
And I'm like, no.
I don't think I can.
I don't remember what I just said. It just flew out.
Well, that's the hard thing is like when we're so intentional in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not there anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm moving forward with you.
Right.
And so I think that it kind of brings along this idea of healing, first of all, is not linear. Mm-hmm. And having a setback can mean that we are in a spiral, but that doesn't mean you're spiraling. Yeah. And I know that there's a big difference in that because, and again, people normalize this idea of like, I'm spiraling. And they say it as a negative thing of like, I'm going down the drain.
Right.
But at the same time, like when you think of, okay, in design, a spiral, a 2D spiral, it's not going downwards and it's not going upwards. It's just circling around in concentric movements. You actually talked about it in a podcast episode at some point. Yeah. But it's, again, you're just revisiting and you're just changing direction. It doesn't have to imply anything else.
Right. Yeah. And then on that same vein too, like, we look at that as regression, like, oh, I'm coming back. Yeah. We're talking about this again. But, you know, us two in this room, we love somatic therapy and the nervous system. Yes. And in reality, it might just be coming up because we feel safer to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Like, our body is like, okay, this is not complete with me, which will not be, of like, hey, this seems important. We're bringing this back up because it's in the same vein, or because I feel safe in this space, or because I have new information to do that.
Revisit something. Well, and I think about when both of us were originally trained, we learned a model as TFCBT based therapy. Mm-hmm. And part of that therapy model is you create something called a trauma narrative. And I remember when we first learned about it, like very, very green. Yeah. Remember we both were thinking like, what?
Yeah.
Because we worked with kids. We only worked with kids to start out our careers. But I remember even like our supervisor was saying like, I know this might feel counterintuitive at first. So as part of this model, you walk children through an exact retelling of a trauma, which I feel like socially in society would tell you that like you're re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, by the point that you get to a trauma narrative in this therapy, kids have coping skills. They have better vocabulary. They have somatic kind of relaxation skills. They have all these things to revisit what happened to them and change how that narrative impacts them mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I think that like, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about the TFCBT model. I think it's a great starting point, but it's not a end all be all. But I do think that that's a great visual and a great example of how revisiting something isn't regression.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just kind of changing the dynamic of that narrative.
Well, and I think the important part about a trauma narrative too is the very last chapter, which this kind of like highlights therapy, is that last chapter is used as, okay, what do you want life to look like moving forward?
Yes.
How do you want to change this narrative? How do you want this to look differently? Yeah. So it's not just like a sitting in this is what happened to me.
I'm stuck here.
Yeah. It's more of a, okay, this is what happened to me. And now it's time that we move forward. Yeah. What will that look like? And then you sometimes get to burn it or rip it up, which is very cathartic. But I've only had one person burn a trauma narrative, and I was like, yeah.
I usually got nervous because when we were especially in the commerce location of the office, it was in the middle of nowhere. It was in the middle of a strip mall. There were trees everywhere. My disaster brain was like, no, girl, a fire. I almost said a fight. A fight's gonna break out. Fire might break out. And I was like, well, what happens if then the trauma narrative becomes a new trauma because it's on fire?
Yeah.
Alas,
we are still here. No wounds.
The horrors persist, but so do we.
Okay, so real life situation.
Yes.
A relationship ends. And suddenly we're feeling new things.
Yes.
New things are cropping up.
Well, I think that, again, people have these things happen to them. And I understand, especially if you don't see them coming, it's very jarring. And it's usually like, what just happened? How did I get here? And also, did I make a mistake?
Yeah.
So, and I think that sometimes when these things resurface, one, it can be because our nervous system, like we said, feels ready to talk about it and ready to think about it again. But again, like our last episode, I think it was our last episode, those attachment wounds can resurface because they go in parallel to something that's happening now. They can emulate, it can look like something. But I think it's one of those where it's like, no, like you're allowed to revisit those old wounds and see that they mean something different for you now.
Yeah. So and I like to talk about this of like when it comes up, we're not just repeating.
No.
But instead we're reframing that quote unquote regression as more of like a revisiting of, okay, now we have some tools which we can use while we talk about this. Like somatic therapy, the whole part of it is you talk through what's going on while also regulating your body so that it's healing that vagus nerve and all the things.
I love it.
So, y'all, it's not regression.
It's not regression. And especially, and obviously we both work with a lot of trauma. And I feel like at least with every client, at least once or twice, there's this idea of, well, why am I still stuck here? It's like, hold on. Like, first of all, what does stuck mean? And there's also this idea of when you are revisiting a trauma, where's your shame? Like, where's the shame in being quote unquote back here? Because it can almost be like, and I always sometimes kind of relate it to going into like a hall of like trophies and accomplishments. If you go visit your medals, your trophies from childhood, you don't feel shame in that. Yeah. You're revisiting past parts of you. So why is it that when we revisit this kind of past part of ourselves, we do feel a lot of shame? Right. Where does that come from? And that's obviously a lot to unpack there, but maybe it's this idea of maybe we can take a neutral stance. Like we are looking at it in like a museum. It's a gallery. We can acknowledge, we can see how that means something to us, and then we can leave the gallery too.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Speaking of beautiful, another statistic. Okay, so I don't know if this Beasel?
Yeah, he did Body Keeps the Score.
Oh, great book, you guys.
So good.
If you have not read that book, go ahead
Please
and give it a listen. They also have an audiobook you can listen to while you're driving safely.
It might be free on Spotify.
Ooh.
Included in your membership.
There you go. Hit that up. So Dr. Bessel van der Kolk emphasizes that trauma is stored in the body, not just the mind, and that healing often happens in waves with physical, emotional, and relational shifts taking turns.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
It's like a dance that's not as fun.
A dance that's not as fun.
Not as fun.
An emotional salsa.
It's not as fun as being at the club. But
the club. Oh no, turn on some EDM and therapy. It'd be a wild time.
It always makes me laugh when people talk about EMDR and they're like, it's like EDM, right? I'm like, yeah. Totally. I mean, there are also flashing lights in DMDR and EDM. Yeah. So.
You will feel things in your body and in your eyes.
That you will. Oh, we should do morning podcast.
Yeah, we should. Unhinged today. Happy Friday.
As I walked in and I was like, I had a bagel in the car on the way here. I got to make sure I don't have avocado.
Get the crusties.
So healing not being linear.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, again, there's this idea that, sure, we've already talked about what this means, why it can be there, and also like the visual of spirals or just how we can conceptualize this again. But what does it all mean? Like, why? Just why? What does backwards mean? If it's not regression, then like, what is it?
Yeah, totally. I've always looked at it as like a revisiting.
Yeah.
Revisiting with like feelings, new insight, new understanding, processing more fully.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm saying.
Just of like with a different head.
Yeah, because we always talk about how feelings are information, right? Yeah. They're telling us things that are going on.
It's data.
We're showing up with more information now.
It is.
We're responding with a different subset of tools, subset of insight to who we are, all of those things.
Whatever. Yeah. Absolutely. So, okay. What do you feel like are some signs that someone could be quote unquote going backwards, but they also might be making progress?
Mine would be showing up to the same situation and seeing it even the slightest bit differently.
Yeah.
Sure. Of just like, okay, I can see, where when that happened, I thought at first it was this feeling, but actually now I'm realizing it's something else. Like anger. I feel like anger is a really good one when you understand the anger iceberg.
Yes.
It's like you show up to a situation, it's like, well, I was just super angry. It's like, were you actually?
Were you angry?
Or were we hurt? Embarrassed?
Having shame?
Confused? So just popping up and then having more specific language to an event. Yeah. And usually, feelings words. Love a good feelings wheel. What about you?
Not as eloquently stated, but you piss people off. Oh. I think that's honestly a great sign. And that's actually, I talk to clients a lot about this. It's usually a few weeks, months, sessions, whatever that looks like in. And especially if we're talking about boundary setting, sometimes clients will come in and they'll be frustrated with me. Yeah. And first of all, I love when clients come in frustrated with me. It's really helpful.
Give it to us.
I even say like, please. It's actually like a nice instance where I'm like, I love this feedback. Please give this to me. Because clients will come in and say like, wait, but I've done all these things and I feel great, but some of my relationships aren't working anymore. And I always talk about sometimes there are negative side effects to great therapy. Yeah. And that being one of them is when you are healing, it can start to bring out parts of your social support network that aren't along for the ride with you. And I think that is sometimes a symptom of progress is you might have conflicts with people in your social circle and you might have to set more boundaries. There might be fractures in some of your relationships and you might also like have some relationships exit, which is really hard. And I think therapy is a great space to process that, and it's grief as well. But I think that's very much a side effect of progress for some people of knowing that like, hold on, this actually isn't as good for me as I thought it was. So I need to either change it or maybe let this one go. Right. It's a hard one though.
That is a hard one, especially for people pleasers. Of pissing people off. That's a lot of peace. People pleasers pissing people off.
Ooh, say that 5 times fast. Yeah. But it can just feel so liberating and freeing though, especially when you're able to like move past either a conflict or a relationship and you can feel that weight lifted off of you. It's like, oh wait, this is progress. It's like,
And a rupture doesn't always mean an end either. Like we talked about, I think last one, attachment theory. Go check it out. Of like how a rupture can actually build a relationship even stronger because you're attuning to each other and what they need, and now you're showing up and being like, oh, okay, so this is where we currently are in the relationship, and it's beneficial for both people.
Well, and there's also this idea that when you are feeling something and you're having a big feeling, it doesn't mean that it's bad. And I wish I could like tattoo this on my forehead, for me and for my clients and my loved ones. But feeling an emotion strongly does not mean that you're bad or you're too much or you're traumatic. It can genuinely mean that you're not numb anymore. Yeah. And it could be a huge sign of progress. If your body and mind feel safe enough to experience an emotion at a high degree, if you had a history of like dissociation or depersonalization, that's incredible. Distressing? Yes. Progress? Also yes.
And in that same note and in that same vein, noticing those triggers quicker.
Absolutely.
Of like being aware of, okay, I'm about to go and I don't know, meet up with someone new. I need to go ahead and start regulating because I recognize that that's going to be a trigger for me. Or of being in an instance and being like, okay, I'm feeling changes in my body. Something's going on where there might have been a time where we just kind of let it flow and we didn't actually take time for ourselves and process what was happening. That can also be like it might feel like going backwards, but in reality, you're actually moving forwards of like, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm recognizing these triggers quicker and I'm actually managing when they're coming up.
I feel like therapists are the worst about that because we're honestly trained to numb ourselves. Very much so. And I feel like
it's almost dissociation.
We don't call it what that is, but like we're trained to numb ourselves. Because of course, like at some point you're going to be at work while something's happening in your life. It happens to literally everyone. They work and life happens at the same time. For therapists, it's just a little odd. Because this job is very strange. But I do feel like therapists really need to kind of stay accountable with themselves for this one because I mean, professionally, we are encouraged to not as much numb ourselves, but to like muffle our own selves. And so I think a big point of progress for a lot of like helping professionals, not just therapists, but teachers, nurses, other healthcare providers, or just providers in general, it's to feel an emotion. Of course, don't let it enter the clinical space. But experience that one too.
Sorry, I had to hiccup. That always happens. I always have one hiccup when I'm hungry and then one after I ate, and I just ate 30 minutes ago. So it's hitting.
I feel you.
The hiccup's hitting. So, and I think we've talked about this underlying theme when it comes to growth, healing, and there's change. Mm-hmm. There's going to be change of like, you're going to cry more. You might quit a job. You might end a relationship. As long as all of those things are happening based off of you and not one, other people, or two, temporary feelings.
Yeah.
Someone actually, a client told me this week. So if you're listening, shout out to you because it was beautifully said. But she said, sorry, I'm thinking about who this person is. She said not to make long-term decisions based off of temporary feelings.
That's fantastic.
I know. And this person is a teenager.
That's incredible.
I was like, you the bomb.
Talk about insight.
Yeah.
That is some fantastic work.
Yeah. So recognizing that this change is not like, I just gotta make a change, but instead like, no, I've been working on this. I'm recognizing that this is something that I need moving forward.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is, you might become less tolerant for a lot of these toxic dynamics in your life. Because again, once you're aware of what's going on, it's hard to progress and to heal in a toxic environment that doesn't work for you. I think some people feel like they have to heal. They have to have this big glow up in an unsafe and unhealthy environment.
Yeah.
But doesn't even down to like our nervous system, it doesn't work like that. We need to feel safe before we can do anything else. And so a lot of folks are like, man, I've got this temper now. And again, anger. Like, is it really a temper? Yeah. Or are you just less tolerant because you can see that this isn't safe anymore?
Right.
And that's not regression. It's progress. But I do think that a lot of people don't realize that, again, progress can just look uncomfortable. Yeah. Because the more you're progressing, I mean, doesn't mean anything about the world around you.
Looks uncomfortable and feels uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, there's going to be some times where, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's very valid and very fair. But we're becoming more authentic. Who's the dearest to self-actualization?
Oh, geez, one of them.
But they're right.
Yeah.
You're becoming more self-actualized.
Well, I followed this one like YouTube channel for a long time. And it was all about like seeking discomfort. And I loved it. And they kind of like shut down during COVID. They're back up now. But they would always do things that would seek discomfort in their life. And it would always be like in service of other people. I loved it. They would like travel to like every wonder of the world. And they would give back to every community that they went to. But again, is that progress? Yeah. You're going to every wonder of the world. You're giving back. You're traveling. You're learning about yourself, the people around you. But oh my gosh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Very uncomfortable.
But I honestly, I've always loved that phrase of like seek discomfort. It's always been something I've like stuck to.
Beautiful.
And I try to remind myself when I'm uncomfortable. I'm growing.
Seek it. Okay. So according to the American Psychological Association, the APA, taking our money, you guys, but we love you, I guess. Progress in therapy is most accurately measured not by symptom elimination, but by increased self-awareness, boop, healthier coping, boop, and improved relational functioning. These things often feel messier before they stabilize.
Ain't that the truth? It reminds me of the splinter analogy that was always used in grad school.
You know, I don't know if this is something that actually happened to me or if I'm imagining this, but I'm pretty dang sure that it happened because I remember where I was when I was on a tennis court.
Yeah, it probably happened.
But I don't know if I dreamed it or not.
So you've been on enough tennis courts, so it's
right, because so it could be coming up in my dreams. But every time they talked about the splinter analogy, or every time I talk about the splinter analogy, or just a splinter in general, I think about this time. This one woman who was not my mother, I had a splinter in my finger, and she sucked it out.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
So that visualization always comes up.
I hope the folks watching this on video enjoyed our facial expressions.
Yeah, like, and I'm thinking maybe I dreamt that because that would feel like a while. I was also I was a child.
Which
I was younger. I was younger, and this was a safe one. I will say this woman was safe. She's been in our circles for ages. It wasn't just like a random woman sucking a splitter out of my finger. And there was consent. She asked, can can I get that out? I was like, yeah, okay. But it's the idea of like, it hurts to take a splinter out.
Yeah.
But if you leave it in, it's going to hurt even worse. So taking it out might feel painful, uncomfortable, all the things, but that's the first step of
it is
the actual physical healing process.
That's just such an interesting memory or dream to have.
I know, and think about every time that we talked about that in school.
We talked about that a lot.
That's what I thought
about.
And
I still talk about it with clients once in a while, too. When they're like, I don't like this, or this makes me uncomfortable.
At least you're not getting a splitter sucked out of your finger.
Oh, dear. So, okay, what do you typically say to yourself or to your clients when they feel like what they feel like is a regression or like a downward spiral is happening?
Okay. I usually say about the same thing. So my clients are going to be like, bruh, you use this with everyone. It's like, yes, because it feels so valid. But that the situation might feel the same, but our tools are stronger and we have more of them and they're different and we're more prepared for the situation. And that it's important to revisit it when we feel like we are safely able and prepared to actually sit with that feeling.
Yeah. I love that.
About you?
For my more like solutions-based black and white thinking kind of folks, I always say like, is this a slip or a slide? And a slip meaning like we're just revisiting it. It's just we're standing in one spot. It's fine. We literally just slip.
Yeah.
Or is this a true slide where we genuinely feel like we're going backwards? Because I want to obviously validate that this is uncomfortable, and give us some space to kind of think that through, but also wonder, hold on, what is this feeling like? Yeah. What does it mean? But then for my more like parts work kind of folks, which I love it, I just say kind of what part of you is feeling unraveled and what does it need to feel safe? Is this familiar for you? And what is it asking for right now? Does it want to revisit and redefine? Does it want to just re-acknowledge how you got through it? Or what is this part wanting in this moment?
Yeah. So when we're talking about the spiral circumstance of we're revisiting, we're coming back around, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but how people want to typically say, oh, that's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's not good or bad. It just is. And we're not asking you to have toxic positivity of like, oh, this is great. Let's talk about this. I am so pumped to revisit.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And like being at a point where we can feel neutral about it. Yeah. And neutrality might look like saying, okay, we're back here again. Like, we're going to talk about this again. Okay, this is showing up. Inviting it to the table, as Sarah likes to say. I love like invite it to the table of just saying, okay, we're going to sit down with this. It's not good or bad. It just kind of is.
Yep. Well, I love the parts work, the inner child work of sometimes when we revisit these things, I completely understand that it's very uncomfortable. It's distressing. It can be activating. It can be triggering. But if we're thinking about parts work or an inner child perspective, it can mean that part of you that was hurting before feels ready to conquer it now. And it's okay to revisit because, again, like you can change the narrative of this story with all the information and skills that you've gained. Yeah.
And practicing some of that like self-compassion.
Yes.
Of, okay, like what can I ask for now that I need that maybe I didn't ask for before? And that could be honestly something as simple as I recognize that my breathing is getting heavy. I need to take some diaphragm breaths.
Yeah. Or even like I need some water. I need some fuel. Like I want to stretch my muscles because I've got muscle tension. Like I want to stand up. I want to sit down. Because if you think about those true moments of activation and trauma, you're not able to think about your body. And so it can be really healing and really regulating to be able to process through those things when you're stretching, when you're getting up and sitting down, when you're like drinking water, having a snack. Like people think that these things are small, but they're really huge.
Yeah. Or it might be the first time you actually tell someone and talk about it with a person, which that can be
saying these things
very healing of just bringing it out of like, oh, we're going to unbox that.
I mean, even something like this morning that I like mentioned very casually with you, it wasn't a casual thing that I've mentioned, but I mean, you even said, you were like, you went through this by yourself? Yeah. I've never thought about that before. I just got through it in the moment because it was distressing. But it is one of those things where like, no, like, if you're able to think about these things and talk about it, it can mean that you're ready and there's an element of safety that wasn't there before. Right. So even though it's really stressful and it can be dysregulating in the moment, just know that it's your removal of the splinter discomfort before something else can happen too.
Right, totally.
Hopefully it's not being sucked out.
I don't know. It's a good technique. Got it out real quick.
I mean, I bet.
So self-compassion is defined by Dr. Kristen Neff. And if any of you people are listening, first of all, go us. Second of all, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Is linked to reducing anxiety and depression. Reduced anxiety and depression, even when symptoms return. Her research shows it promotes resilience across multiple episodes of distress, not just one recovery arc.
I love that. And again, like, recovery is something, and like quote unquote recovery, whether it's from a trauma, whether it's from just a difficult experience, anything like that, it can have this like quote unquote end date, but it changes you. And sometimes it can change your body, your genetics, your brain. And just so know that like these things do leave an imprint on us, which can feel empowering, can feel defeating some days, but just know that exercising this true self-compassion just says like, okay, this experience has molded me into a different version of myself. Let me figure it out. Let me get to know this person again.
Yeah, totally. So what's one thing that you would tell someone who's in the middle of a quote unquote spiral right now?
I like the idea of like, it's okay to be here.
Yeah.
You're not failing. This isn't bad, quote unquote. And I can also say like, you're not the same person you were when you were here before. And things can be different now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Mine would definitely be that like feelings are a temporary moment, building the evidence for long-term resilience.
Oh, I love that.
Of like, okay, this might stink right now.
For sure.
Yeah. But when we look back on it, we're going to be like, okay, wow. That helped me get to the point that I'm at right here and show myself that I can go through things that stink or things that are hard.
Yes. And some of the best healing comes on the tail of some really uncomfortable therapy sessions. And so I think that sometimes clients like leave a session, and we've talked about it multiple times before, is not every session feels incredible. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, it's hard, it's sad. But usually within like a session or two of those like really uncomfortable ones, clients come in and they're like, hold on.
Yeah.
This did something. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you hung in there and you did the hard thing.
You did it, girl.
You did it. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Okay, so call to action for all of our listeners. If you guys are sitting out there and you're like, okay,
what do I do?
What's going on? How do I process this? I'm not currently in therapy. Then you can come check us out at www.soulhavengeorgia.com.
As you should. It's July. We have some openings.
But if you're like, okay, I want to sit with this before I make that next step of journaling, and of course this can be either written, verbal, you can do
voice note,
art as a way of journaling and just processing through your head,
interpretive dance.
Hey, get after it. I actually did a CE on that, interpretive dance in therapy.
I bet it's incredible for people that like vibe with that. I love
that. But maybe ask yourself, okay, so what's something I used to call a setback that I now recognize as progress?
I love that.
And how has that impacted me? And like, do I want more of that?
Incredible. Well, as we said, Couch Convos is not a substitute for therapy. We are therapists, but we are not necessarily your therapists. And even if we are, we're not your therapist right now. We love you though.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you're in crisis, immediate danger, please dial 988-911, go to your closest emergency room or crisis center. But if you do want to do more of this work with us, check us out at, like Caroline said, www.soulhavengeorgia.com. Follow us on all of our social media. We are at Soul Haven Counseling, Couch Combos the Pod on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We are on Facebook, YouTube. You can catch this podcast on Spotify, on Apple, all the things. Ooh, that was my energy drink. Ooh. Leave us a comment if you want to. Let us know what you think, or an element of healing that you didn't expect.
Yeah. And if you liked this one, like and subscribe. Share it with all your peeps.
Please do.
We're trying to make therapy more accessible, you guys. So help us with that journey.
Love it. Thanks for sticking around.
See you later.